Canada's Athlete of the Year in 2004, Adam van Koeverden has got more titles than Stephen King. Check it out. Two-time world kayaking champion, 24-time world champion, and just for measure, 67-time Canadian champion. And if you're still not impressed, my man's got 3 Olympic medals, 1 in each color. Yeah, he went for the whole set.
And Van Koeverden's gonna bring it home! Feed for victory! Olympic gold! Unbelievable! Van Koeverden!
Not too shabby for a guy who once thought of himself as not terribly gifted when it came to athletics. Now, Adam discovered kayaking at 13 at a place called the Burloak Canoe Club in his hometown of Oakville, Ontario. And despite his major successes, he hasn't forgotten where he came from. Burloak is still his home club. Kayaking suited Adam, a kid who, like a lot of us, had trouble finding a sport that was right for him. And while he is obviously a serious competitor, he knows how to have fun, certainly in the early days, but the chance to play. And that's where his current mission comes in. Adam works as an athlete ambassador with Right to Play.
So we'll all work together to keep the ball in the circle.
And the group's mission is straightforward. From China to the West Bank to Rwanda, using sport to make change. Please welcome back to the show our friend Adam van Koeverden.
How's it going, man? Nice to see you. Really well. I'm really well.
Nice to see you, man. Awesome. Welcome back to the show. How's life?
Than's good.
How was Mali?
Oh, it was amazing.
You just got back from the Right to Play trip in Mali, right?
Yeah, I was in Western Africa for 8 days. It was a fantastic trip.
Have you been to that part of the world?
I've been to Liberia before, which is also in Western Africa, and it's a different country for sure. They're all different. They've all got their special touch. And it was interesting. You know, it's hard to find adjectives to describe trips like this because, you know, if you go to like the Caribbean or Las Vegas, you can be like, yeah, it was awesome, but
or you can just say drunk.
Yeah, right? But it was tough. And I mean, you know, but Claire Hughes and I went. And if you've heard of the Olympic sport, then you've heard of Claire Hughes. So I don't have to introduce her to anybody. And we went so that we can become better ambassadors and better advocates for Right to Play. You know, we were there for 8 days, so it's silly to think that we're going to go and like change the world in 8 days.
No, but you can see stuff.
You can see stuff, and then we can come back and we can be better advocates for what Right to Play is.
You know, sometimes when cats set up to be advocates for something, I know that I felt it in my own sense. It's like, wow, you really have to make sure you get this right. There are real people involved here. Did you see it differently when you were there?
Well, absolutely, there are real people involved, and that's why I wanted to go, right? Because I wanted to meet them. I literally wanted to get like the dirt of Africa under my fingernails so that I could come back and talk about it.
Do you feel like you're making a difference?
Not me personally. Like, I mean, I make a difference when somebody, you know, writes a check. But I mean, I'm secondary to the cause. I just, you know, wear the Right to Play T-shirt and go up on stage and talk about my trip and come on, you know, the George Strombo show and talk about my trip.
This is how we get you in a non-Olympic year. This is how how was training going?
Oh, really well, thanks. Yeah, like most of the interviews I was doing recently were because I had a really good summer, and I managed to win the World Championships this past summer. So
nice. How do you know it's a bad year? I mean, you can lose an event.
Yeah.
But how do you know it's a bad year?
Well, that's the thing. You know, we characterize sometimes an entire year by one race, which isn't really fair because it was the day before. I could have had a better day, a better race, and then a great year, and that's kind of ridiculous, right? Yeah. So to put it in perspective, I had a great year because I love my job. I get to kayak every day, like that's a good job. Right. And so I just had a bad year of racing, and it's not even to say that my races were all bad, but the one that I was training for, that was the World Championships, I came in 10th, and I wasn't happy with it. So, you know, it was a bad year, but at the end of the day, I still enjoy. I wasn't like hanging up my paddle, but I wanted to do better, and that's what sport's about, right? It's about the ups and downs.
Yeah, you might not have been able to have the year that you had this year had you not gone through some of the big losses.
I can tell you that in absolute, like, honesty, that I would not have because I wouldn't have trained as effectively and as hard for the past 12 months prior to that World Championships if I had done like mediocrely or well. So
it's a crazy thing to be in because the mindset of an athlete, it's you're designed to win, but it's kind of weird for the rest of your life because, you know, it's like setting everything up for one minute. You're setting everything for 1 minute. That's
or 3.5 in my case, yeah. But, and I guess maybe even 10 if you think about like semi-heat, semi-final, but no, I know what you're saying. And I kind of look forward to a time in my life where, you know, success isn't characterized by 3.5 minutes of 1 year. Where you can, you know, do a good job every day and maybe have a bad day occasionally, but that bad day isn't necessarily like the day that everybody's watching. that's just like perspective, like athlete perspective though, right? So I mean, I'm thankful for everything I've had in my life, and that's one of the reasons why I'm involved with Right to Play, because my whole life I've had all these opportunities in sport.
Now, obviously, it's a much different reality in parts of the developing world where this is incredibly important, just, also, emotionally and for the development and helping kids. But all around the world right now, with a tough economy, it's harder and harder for kids even here to get access to that kind of stuff and get access to equipment and get access to training. Is
Not just that, but physical education in schools. Like this is I could go off on this, right? Like, no, kids in Canada, not every kid in Canada has daily access to physical education. Yeah. And some schools in Toronto don't even have like a regular phys ed program.
God, I would have loved that. I hated gym class, man. I was so bad at it.
What if they had ice hockey? Then you would have liked it.
Yeah, I didn't know how to skate. But if they had going to the racetrack and betting on horses as a class, I would have been amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every kid has an outlet, right? And needs an outlet. So, I mean, if sports is truly not your thing, I still think you should learn how to exercise.
Of course, yeah.
Because people in their 20s who didn't exercise until they're 20 or 30, aren't going to be as effective if they didn't take phys ed in school, right? But if you learn just how to take care of your body from an early age, then it's going to be innate.
So, are you working behind the scenes with politicians to try to show them how important this is?
I wish I was.
Careful, somebody will lasso you into doing this.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being an ambassador for phys ed. And I was a phys ed major at McMaster University. We call it kinesiology, but it's just a fancy word for gym class. I did take a class that was soccer, basketball, volleyball.
That's a class?
Yeah, well, it was one class out of many. I was to like chemistry and calculus and algebra and whatever. Not to get into my education, but yeah, no, phys ed is really, really important. And I just don't like that it falls wayside to like English, math, and history every time, because I don't think it should.
What's London 2012 mean to you?
It represents a lot of things. I'll be 30, and I never thought in a million years that I'd be kayaking still when I was 30, but I'm enjoying it still. I love my sport and I love my job, so I'm a professional, and I think the word amateur is a little bit antiquated. Sure, we'll call it amateur sport because that's what it's always been called, but we're way past this chariots of fire ideal of amateurism, so. God, it represents awesome. A lot. It's just what's in the distance right now. It's what I think about when I wake up and the last thing I think about when I fall asleep.
Who's the oldest guy you've raced against?
I've been racing for 17 years. So.
But did you ever race against somebody who was 34?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
so no, you can win. So you can win races when you're 34.
London's not your last games then.
It's potentially not my last, but it potentially is too. I don't know. Like I said, I plan in 4-year stints. So right now my planning goes until August 2012.
Cool. Thanks for coming in, man. It's great to see you.
My pleasure. Hey, I brought you something.
You did? Oh, that's what that green bag is hanging out here.
Yeah. All right, so I brought you a black Right to Play T-shirt. Because if I brought you a red one, a yellow one, or a white one, you would not wear it.
Thank you.
Here
This
you go.
is great. I love what you guys are doing. Johan Olaf Koss, it's great.
Yeah, and appealing to your not very Toronto-esque hockey.
Oh, look at this. Nicely played.
I'm a nonpartisan hockey fan, so I don't really care who wins.
It's amazing. Adam van Koeverden, Right to Play athlete ambassador. We'll be right back.